guys and dolls, welcome back to my sub hub. And for those of you that are new here, how you doing? Okay, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for all the love that you're giving me on these particular videos. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the interaction. I appreciate the questions and just the comments, everything. You guys have been very kind and very sweet, and I appreciate every last one of you. It is very much a privilege to be able to have a YouTube channel and have an audience to boot. So I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. Please, again, like, comment, subscribe. If you're feeling really generous, share my information so that other people's minds are open and they get to hear some of this, what I think is very important information. But without further delay, let's get started. This is more disclosure. This is the Space Exchange Program Zeta Reticuli Journey to Serpo. And yes, I was floored with a lot of this information, so let's get started. December of 1963, Los Alamos received a message from the Ebens. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but from the Ebens about landing on Earth. This was the time period when John F. Kennedy takes office. Kennedy was briefed on the transmission by the CIA. He briefed, meaning he was told there would be a journey of 12 human beings specially picked to travel to the planet Serpo and live there for 10 years. These people needed to be free, meaning no family, significant others waiting for them anywhere. Orphans, essentially. No one would miss any of them. On April 24th, 1964, two crafts landed on Earth near New Mexico. These two crafts had a specific landing area to set down on, but one craft missed its mark, which caused an officer by the name of Lonnie Zamora to be called out to an area near Corona, New Mexico to investigate. When he got to the landing site, the officer saw two ETs standing by the craft. When the ETs realized their mistake, they scrambled back onto their ship and fled. They were supposed to land on a nearby Air Force base, which they later found, per later communication with the military. This instance coincides with the trip to Serpo. So even though this event wasn't directly related to it, it proves ETs were very much active in contact with humanity at this time. And if you look up Lonnie Zamora, you'll be able to further read into that story. That story is real. It's true for those of you who still don't really believe Lonnie Zamora. Look up his story. The Serpo trip began with a request going through military ranks for the journey. 600 replies were received and 16 were chosen. The reason why only people without any attachments were chosen was because the military wanted to control 100%, meaning no leaks to the public whatsoever. Especially since the people on this journey may not return. They didn't want anyone inquiring about what happened to them. Some of the people on this team were physicians and scientists. Because of the tight compartmentalized security, a few had to be recruited from outside the military. So not only people in the military went, but people outside of the military as well, just normal people like you or I, except that maybe they were a doctor or a scientist and in the field that they needed. The training for these people to live 10 years on a planet unknown to them was not as meticulous as you would assume. Right now, I'm just going back to all the movies I've seen where you see people travel to another planet and they are thoroughly educated. They've got 29 degrees. They know what they're doing. Everything is meticulously mapped out. Well, that's not the reality. They did not go through astronaut training. You're going to another planet, but you're not going through astronaut training. Okay, NASA stepped in for much of the so-called training. They were given a very wide curriculum, like astronomy for one. They were sent to the farm, and the farm is a CIA training facility. These people, and I believe the farm is somewhere in Virginia, or Virginia Fort Pierce. Sorry. I always say I'm gonna write better, but I never do I? Yeah, the farm is somewhere in Virginia at Fort Pierce. The people, of course, were even separated from any CIA agents in training there. So that's an example of compartmentalization through the powers that be and anybody having to do with the secret space program. A general might know one thing, a troop coming in first rank might know something else, a captain might know something else, and they will not know anything that has been told to each of them separately. And they could have, you know, they could have been given, okay, officer, you're going to, at this point, do this. Okay, general, when you see your captain does this, you're going to do this. So they may have been given special, oh my gosh, I'm losing my train, not my train of thought, but I can't say what I mean. But they're given different things to do. They are commands. They're given different commands, and no one knows about these commands. You know, even though they might be equals, even though they might be very close in rank, even though it might be important for that lieutenant, corporal, captain, whoever, you know, it might be important for them to know this, they will never know what each of them has been given by the powers that be. So they were kept very isolated. They were also sent to different locales like Chile, Mexico, and Florida for high altitude training. Serpo did have a similar atmosphere to Earth, so their bodies would be physically adaptable to living there. The military had volumes of information on Serpo. There had been dealings with them 9 years before Kennedy took office. These beings from Serpo had sent back crafts for the military to back engineer. Again, back to Encounters of the Third Kind by Steven Spielberg. In that movie, he portrays very specifically the way contact happened and takeoff into space from New Mexico area known for ET activity. So Spielberg's portrayal of the takeoff was from Devil's Mountain, Nevada, and the real takeoff was from a test site in Nevada not too far from there. Not a coincidence. Definitely not a coincidence in my opinion. So on April 24th, 1964, the ETs were met with quite an entourage of 16 high-ranking military personnel and of course the 12 that were ready to go that day, but the ETs decided not to take them at that time. At that time, Earth was given 2 gifts. So they didn't go right then, but they were given 2 amazing gifts that they most likely still have today. It was a translator and the yellow book. The yellow book, as you opened it, holographic images sprang out, giving pictures of Earth, time periods of significance going back to 2000 BC, when technology was not known by anyone on Earth. It goes back to 2000 BC. Whoever held their device closely would translate information according to language the holder thought in. The military still have these gifts. At that time, the Ibans took all of their dead home with them. Some of these deaths, some of these deaths. Okay, so I'm getting excited here. So they actually took their people with them, the people that had crash landed on Earth years before. Some of these deaths were a result from the Roswell crash in New Mexico. Can you believe what I just said? The Roswell crash in New Mexico that the powers that be said weren't real, that it was a weather balloon. Do you remember that? I know some of you have to remember that, and everything that was said about the Roswell crash. Oh my gosh. So New Mexico. And there were 6 and then 4 in Sakura, New Mexico. So there's a place called Daytil, and I'm not familiar with New Mexico, and hopefully I wrote that right, but there were 6 bodies in Daytil and 4 in Sakura, New Mexico. These bodies were held in suspended animation in Los Alamos, New Mexico. At that time, there was a cryogenic system invented that could keep the corroding of living matter when put in cryogenic liquid. This is what the dead Ibans were kept in. The infamous alien autopsy video was very real, but not Ibans. And this happened before the Roswell incidents. Remember that? I can't tell you how many times I've seen that video. That was actually real. These ETs are unknown and much more human-like than the Ibans. So whereas the Ibans are the ones that whoever those 12 people went with on that journey for 10 years, eventually, because they didn't come for them this time, that alien video, the autopsy, they were unknown. So the video has been validated, but not on public record for the masses. So even though it has been validated, they know it's real, they're not going to tell you that. And so again, you might walk away from this video thinking this is a bunch of hoo-ha, but hey, I'll leave that up to you to believe or not to believe. The Ebens did come back 1 year later to get the humans. So far, 1 year, the 12 were held in isolation along with tons of equipment for another whole year. So because they didn't go with them in 1964 and 1965, that whole year leading up to 1965, they still had to be in isolation. I just would have said, no, okay, I'm going home. I don't think I could have done that, honestly. Anyway, the Ebens returned to the sites 1 year, actually there were two. So there were two sites, one near Nevada, the test site in Nevada, and the other at Area 51. At that time, the shuttlecraft was able to take 12 individuals and 40 tons of equipment. The shuttlecraft, a shuttlecraft, not the craft, the shuttlecraft. Wow, in one trip, proving that they had anti-gravity technology. Once on board, they couldn't communicate, but there was a female called Eben 2, or, oh God, Julie, write better. She was called Eben 2, who helped translate. She became a very compassionate and close companion to the 12, and the commander was very taken by her. She was a translator, hostess, and guide wrapped in one. One team member did die on the journey. The 12 were given 3-digit numbers as new identities. The male who passed was number 308. He was a pilot. The commander discovered he was dead because his bubble was unoccupied. The 12 for a portion of the journey were placed in bubbles. The captain was eventually told that number 308, he had a pulmonary embolism. He asked where the body was. He assumed it was being held somewhere, as the Eben bodies were in cryogenics. That was not the case. He was told it doesn't exist anymore. The Ebens explained they were honored to have it for the use of their experiment, which they had used to clone another type of creature, part alien, part human. The Ebens never abducted humans, but it's believed that in a case like number 308, they were allowed to take the human body for experiments and other procedures. So this is prime example that the powers that be not only know about alien life forms, they know about other beings, they're in contact, they know them, have been in contact, have had relationships with people not of Earth for many, over 50 years, probably longer. And they've been visiting here for way longer than that. And they have given the permission to come down. If this is what happened to the body of a soldier this was a planned trip. He was under his commanding officer. If they took him without a second thought, what do you think they're doing on Earth? I hate when my mind goes there. But anyway, in both, okay, so it was like they were allowed to take, okay, the procedure. This frame of mind goes back to the Roswell crashes. In both saucers from both crashes, human body parts were found on the ships. Oh, that really makes me so angry. The powers that, this is what the powers that be do. So if this is not prime example that not only do the powers that be not care about you, that nothing that they do, nothing that they say is for your benefit, I don't know what is. I honestly don't know what is, because to give another being permission to take you, eat you, rip you apart, that information is just kick you in the crotch, hit you in the neck, punch you in the face, kick your teeth out. Fantastic. At least that's how I see it. But anyway, one of the doctors came across an area with creatures contained in fluid. Before this was found, the commander demanded to see what was left of number 308, and things became very heated, with the commander sending for guns to be put at the ready. I don't blame him. I do not blame him. To know that your fellow companion, someone who was probably your friend, your comrade, who knows how long they'd known each other, that's under your command, you're responsible for these people, and you find out that not only did they died of a natural cause, or, pulmonary embolism, maybe he wasn't in the best of shape, maybe the pressure of the ship, pulmonary embolism, I'm not a doctor, I can't explain it, but I can only imagine that his body was under stress and that's why he died. But to find out that they took your friend the person that you're responsible for, whether he was your friend or not, they took a human being, ripped him apart, used his DNA, and created another freaking creature. So EB2 begged no guns, but he still demanded for number 308 to be shown to him. EB2 went to get the doctor in charge. The doctor spoke perfect English to the commanders in astonishment. I don't understand why they weren't speaking to them in English to begin with, but they were surprised when the doctor came out speaking perfect English. The doctor explained the procedure. Obviously, the doctor was an Eben. The case that held number 308 was sealed, so he was never able to be seen. So you were never able to see what was left. He insisted on seeing what was done to the remains. Like number 308, he was taken to another facility where there were huge containers filled with fluid holding different creatures, all sizes, part human, animal, or creature. He was revolted. He was eventually shown what creature number 308 remains were used for and was even more disgusted. He thought it was evil. The Ebens reproduced much like us, allowed only 2 children, much like China. They lived simply and plainly. The physiology is very different from humans, but were nothing like Greys. They are about 4 feet tall, and wow, my writing is amazing. They're about 4 feet tall with a brown complexion, 5 digits on each hands and toes, large eyes, 2 eyelids, small nose, and mouth. The Ebens had 2 suns, so it was never dark there. They only had a twilight. The 12 had a very hard time getting used to that. When they went out to explore, they found a northern quadrant, which was just wonderful. They said it had good temperatures, water, and mountains. It was so much like Montana on Earth, they named it Little Montana. The 12 loved it there. So this is pretty much the end of the whole story. I just wanted to explain that, yes, years ago, in 1965, 12 people took a journey off of this planet. So yes, 12 people took a trip off this planet and went with the Ebens to their planet. Someone died, and I don't know about you, but as I'm telling you all these disclosure stories and all this information from UAM and TV and Gaia, don't all the movies you've ever seen come back? Aliens, when they found, maybe it wasn't Aliens, or maybe it was. I know one of those movies where they take a journey and they get to their destination and someone is dead in one of those little tubes. And I mean, I'm just floored. I'm just floored. I hope that was interesting to you. I hope that, again, it opened your mind and you realize that the things that the powers that be are hiding. Roswell, New Mexico crash was real, and I cannot believe that we were in contact and trading information and having relationships with those beings that were found in that Roswell, New Mexico crash. But anyway, I hope you kind of look up some of the stuff for yourself to see, you know, that what I'm saying and the disclosure is, in my opinion, 99.9% true. Guys, this is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it wasn't too jumbled. I know I'm always making mistakes, but be healthy, be well, make good decisions because you are in control of your life, and I will see you in my next video.